I'm Caroline Dowd-Higgins. Thank you for listening to Your Working Life, my international podcast series featuring luminaries in the career, leadership, financial, entrepreneurial, and wellness fields. I know you spend a significant portion of your life at work, so I'm on a mission to provide you with tools, inspiration, and resources so you can enjoy your career and love your life. And today I'm so delighted to welcome my very special guest, Beverly Flaxington. Beverly, how are you today?
I'm great, Caroline. Very happy to be here.
Oh, you're so welcome. I want to tell our audience a little bit about you. I know you and I have worked together before, and I'm just so excited about your new book. You are a very popular international speaker. You're a business building expert and an accomplished business consultant. You also do executive coaching, training, facilitation, and you're a behavioral expert, a professor, and a two-time best-selling and Gold Award-winning author. And as an entrepreneur, you also founded your own consulting firm, The Collaborative. And today I'm really excited to have time with you to talk about your new book, Self-Talk for a Calmer You. Learn how to use positive self-talk to control anxiety and live a happier, more relaxed life. Sounds good to me, Beverly.
Well, and I was thinking, Caroline, when you were talking earlier, I just love the focus of your show because I just work with so many people who are in their day-to-day work life. They're so stressed. They have so much anxiety. So I'm hoping that maybe this will give them some tools and ideas.
Absolutely. I have every confidence. So let's start from the beginning. What is self-talk, Beverly, and how does it work?
Well, it's funny, when the publisher contacted me to ask me to write this book, they talked about the fact that, wow, we all do self-talk all day long. Most people only think about it in relation to something dramatic, Caroline.
Mm,
So they may, for example, be planning to ask the boss for a raise, or perhaps they're replaying a conversation they had with their spouse at breakfast that morning. So it's those times where we're more aware of the fact that there's something that we're saying to ourselves. And yet self-talk really is this constant dialogue that goes on throughout the day where we tell ourselves what we see, what it
yeah.
means, how to filter it, how to think about it. So I call it that ballpark announcer that's giving you the play-by-play.
Right, right. And I get it, right? It's the monkey chatter. It's just what's happening in our brains while we function in our daily lives. So do we say it out loud or is it sometimes just what we're thinking?
Well, great question. Because, people will say, well, of course, I don't talk to myself. That's for crazy people, right? So the people that are standing on the street corners that are talking to themselves, that's what we think about. And yet we have this inner dialogue that's going on. My goodness, sometimes we're in conversation with someone else and
Right.
there's another dialogue that's happening. It's the little balloon that you see in the cartoons that's
Yes.
going on while I'm talking to you. So typically for most people, it is something that they're thinking, it's in their mind, although many people will, they may be speaking to someone that's not
Mm-hmm.
there. Sometimes we're speaking to somebody who's long passed on. So
Right, right.
it's just that we are not aware of it, and it can be really debilitating depending on
Yeah.
what we're saying.
Yeah. Well, that's why I love the title, right? How to use positive self-talk to control anxiety. As you mentioned, so many of the people that I work with, and I'm sure that you work with as well, are stressed. They're stressed to the max. So why can learning self-talk help us, in our daily lives, for example?
Well, I think about it as giving ourselves tools. We really need to create that proverbial backpack where we've got some things to call upon when we need them. And for many people, they'll go into a workplace, and the minute they step over that threshold, the stress comes. Maybe they
Mm,
have difficulties with their boss or with their coworkers, or perhaps the company is rumors of layoffs, or there's lots of things that
yeah.
circulate around. So being able to understand that my self-talk is a choice and that the choice most of us will make is towards negative, right? So we can think of
Right.
it as worry, or we can think of it as the worst case, the doomsday scenario.
Yeah.
realizing that and then making a different choice, Caroline, I think at least we cannot change some of the circumstances out there, but we can change our reaction to those circumstances. And that's really what we're talking about.
And I love that because it gives the individual permission, right? Self-talk is a
Yes.
choice. So you have the power, if you will, to control it, right? Or at least to put it in perspective and use it accordingly. So how do we get into these anxious states, right? When stress just takes over and anxiety really comes into play?
So think about, a little bit of the snowball effect. So what can happen is maybe I get up in the morning and I don't know, I just have this little feeling of malaise as I'm going into the office and, not feeling so optimistic, so upbeat. I get in there and a colleague says something offhanded even to me about something they heard in the cafeteria or a conversation they had with someone else. And that's where the self-talk starts. Why did I even pick this career? There's a million things I could have done for a living. And why did I pick
Hmm.
this? I'm in a dying industry. I'm going to be a dinosaur. When this company goes under, where am I going to be? What am I going to do? And I just read in the paper the other day about the fact that in my industry, unemployment continues to climb. And it's on and on. And it's this chatter.
Yeah.
And we don't realize. But then by the end of the day, we are exhausted.
It
We
is.
are
It's tiring. Yeah.
right. We're driving home. We're thinking, I can't wait to get to bed. And then, our sleep's interrupted probably by it. And the problem is, Carolyn, we don't know that it's going on. So we don't have choices to do anything differently about it. 'Cause we don't even really, we just think that's the norm.
Right, right. Well, that's it. It's become so common. We get used to it. We almost expect it, and I think we cultivate it unknowingly.
Well, we do. And so, it feeds off of it. And then something else will remind us of that. I like to make the analogy, one of my favorite things, and I wrote this in the book, but, it's the idea of many of us have lived in places where the winter's been tough. So we're all looking
Yes,
forward to
yes.
spring, right? And spring means baseball. And so we go to the ballpark and it's a beautiful day and we're there for our favorite team and we've got our hot dog and our Coke and we sit down in the seats and it would be as if the announcer comes on and says, "Well, welcome everyone. Now I have to let you know this is going to be a really terrible day for the Red Sox. They're going to lose 7-2, and it's just going to be awful. It's going to be a slaughter. It's going and and he tells us, and we're sitting there. The game hasn't even started, and so how are you going to feel, right? You may as well
Oh,
get up and leave. But that's what we do all day
yeah,
long, right?
yeah.
We're giving the scenario. We're in the ninth inning of how terrible it all plays out, and we don't even let ourselves enjoy the game to get there.
What a good illustration. You're right. You're right. Oh, that's incredible. And what I was fascinated by in your book is that it's so debilitating for us to really harbor and foster this anxiety, right? It's ruining our health. It's just breaking us down emotionally. There are a lot of problems that arise from anxiety, correct?
Well, and this is the thing about it because, a lot of times people might say, well, but there are difficult things going on at my work, or you don't realize how tough my life is, or I
Mm,
have these problems. And, that may all be true, but what we don't realize is how much this negative thinking, this negative talking to ourselves is really stealing from us. Because when we really need that emotional, that mental, that just capacity to be able to think about what to do next, or be able to react or trust your gut, that intuitive piece. The problem is that negative self-talk has stolen a lot of our natural ability from us. So it does
right.
deplete us, it does drain us. So important to realize that we do have some choices and we can get back some of that inner strength to be able to make some better decisions for ourselves.
So well put. It takes a lot of energy to feed the anxiety. So let's talk about solutions, right? You wrote this incredible book. How do we use self-talk to minimize our anxiety?
Absolutely. So I feel that one important thing is to start with certain areas of your life that you're having the most difficulty. So I think, because you think about New Year's resolutions we make, right? Generally, I'm going to be a
Hmm.
happier person. I'm going to be nicer. I'm going to,
Right.
these grandiose ways that we want to change our lives, all very noble objectives,
Hmm.
but it's overwhelming. So one of the things we have to do is start to isolate where would I like to focus first. And so let's take the workplace. My work is really depleting to me. I go in there, I don't feel good. I leave, I don't feel good. So number one thing is recognizing what's the environment that really is difficult for me right now and focusing on that. The second thing is understanding what it is that I'm doing to tell I'm telling myself that's so negative. So what is it that I'm doing in the day to day, the trigger, if you will, the thing that's happening, and how does it set me off into a negative cycle? So first part really is that recognition, that understanding, that learning a little bit, that doing a little bit of that self-reflection and just
Mhm.
learning a little bit about how this plays out for me. And Caroline, for a lot of people, if you just can do that, you have choices already because you're seeing how what we're talking about here is actually playing out for you.
Wonderful. So let's unpack it a little more. I really want you to give us some examples that our listeners can relate to and say, "Ah, I get it. That's me."
Yes. So here's a good one. So for a lot of people, they may work very hard, but they have the experience that they just don't make enough money.
Mhm.
And they sit down to pay their bills and very frustrating because why did I choose this for a living? And I'm never going to be able to get ahead, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that would be a very concrete example you could take a look at. So the next time that you sit down with your bills, you have to recognize I've got to talk to myself differently about this and be very conscious about it. And so have some prepared things that you can say. So it could be anything from something like I am getting better and better every day, and I'm finding ways to be more creative about making money. It
Mhm.
could be today is a difficult day for me, but tomorrow is a new day, and so I know that this is going to get better for me. It could be I'm going to pay my bills with the money that I have, and I'm not going to have anxious thoughts about it because
Right.
anxious thoughts deplete me.
Yes.
So you're not lying to yourself. You're not saying that the situation, putting on the rose-colored glasses. What you're doing is you're trying to get to a neutral place and normalize it a little bit. You may not have as much money as you'd like to have. That may be the fact. But you can talk to yourself about it in a way that at least gives you a little bit of that optimism, a little bit of that hope, a little bit of that confidence to start looking at it in a more productive manner. So that would be a very specific example.
I love that. And I also like that you're setting yourself up for success. And in this scenario, you're welcoming abundance. You're welcoming the possibility of earning more money, right? Because the negative self talk can be so debilitating that you shut up opportunity out. So this
Well,
opens up the possibilities.
you beautifully said. I would love to just capture exactly what you said because this is what happens. We could almost look at it as like a shrinking process, right?
Yeah.
That negative self-talk, it shrinks the way that we look at the world, the opportunities that we might see. That it all becomes this little tiny no, it's all bad. And if
Hmm.
I can at least just open my mind up to the fact that every day people are doing amazing things. They're having amazing situations. There's a circumstance they didn't expect. There's something good happening. And why can't that be you? But
Yeah.
you do have to have a little bit of that intention and that welcoming and that opening up to be ready for it.
Nice, nice. Beverly, in the book you so eloquently wrote about your personal toolkit. Give us a few examples of how we can think about utilizing those tools for positive self talk.
So I believe in having a number of different things because different things work for different people. And quite
Hmm.
frankly, different things work in different situations.
Sure.
So it could be anything from, I have a favorite one, Caroline, that I use a lot where it's called the stop technique.
Hmm.
And it simply says that I recognize that I'm ruminating, I'm talking to myself negatively, I'm depleting myself. So I choose to put up a big stop sign. And if I'm alone, I can say the word stop. If I'm sitting in a meeting, it may be better for
Yeah.
me to just picture red stop sign, STOP, exclamation mark, huge, right in my mind. Then what I have to do though is I have to turn my focus to something more positive. So I like to have something prepared. For somebody, it could be a poem that they like. It could be a mantra that they say. It could be
Hmm.
some form of meditation. I happen to love, there's an 80s song, Men Without Hats. They sang the safety dance.
That's
E-
great.
Even my 10-year-old, who was, no, of course, not around in the 80s, knows the safety dance because very upbeat, just very happy. And so if I'm starting to feel that these negative thoughts are coming in, I'll stop and just start to sing that tune because it changes physiologically. It changes something for me. Now, it's going to be something different for everybody, but you can at any point in time. So you're driving your car and that person cuts you off. Your child decides tonight's the night that they're going to just rank all over you. Your boss comes in and throws yet another project. As you start to go into that rumination, you can do the stop technique and then have something prepared that's your thing that you can start to focus on more positive. Then you turn your attention and say, okay, what do I have to do next here? So that's
That's
a really
great.
simple one, but very powerful.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And I just want to tell our audiences what I love about your book is you do have such clear, practical, actionable steps, right? I think intellectually we all know that we want to quiet the self-talk or use it in a positive way, but your book is a guide and it gives us very practical tools about how you can do this at home. So I strongly encourage our listeners to go out and get Self-Talk for a Calmer You by Beverly Flaxington. Beverly, what's your last bit of wisdom and advice for us today?
I think the last thing that I'd like to leave with your listeners, Caroline, is that this is something at any point in time you do have the power to decide you're going to do something differently about it. And I love what you said about the practicality, because to me, it really is a matter of that practice. You know, we've practiced the way we're doing it right now for many, many years, decades for some of us.
Yes,
And
yes.
so just start to practice some of this. It won't feel natural in the beginning. It will feel forced, but the more you do it, the more it becomes the choice that you'll end up making. But you do have to commit to it, but it's just taking that first step. So just try something starting today.
Wonderful. Beverly, remind us how we can buy your book and follow you online.
Yes, the book is actually everywhere. It's in all the major bookstores, on Amazon, barnesandnoble.com. You can visit me at thehumanbehaviorcoach.com. I write a blog. I also blog for Psychology Today. So there's a lot of my ideas and things out there for free on the web as well.
Excellent. Beverly Flaxington, always a joy to have you on the air. Thank you for spending your time with us. And congratulations on this wonderful new book, Self Talk for a Calmer You. I highly recommend it.
Thank you, Caroline. It is always a pleasure to talk with you. Thank
You,
you.
you're very welcome. You take good care. And I want to thank you for tuning into Your Working Life today, where my goal is to help you design your career destiny so it doesn't happen by default. True satisfaction is possible, and it's time to embrace what you love so you can do more of it. I'm Caroline Dowd-Higgins. Take good care.